All right. Hi, everyone. I know this is a little bit confusing for some of you, but just so you know, this is Remo. This is the event, or this is the platform we're going to be using for the networking event on Friday. Um, so I'm going to do a quick presentation on like how to use Remo and just some best practices. But in the meantime, can you just like write in the chat if you can hear me and see me and everything's working for you? Okay, thank you, Patrick. I'm just gonna wait another minute or two because I think some people were still getting situated and like trying to figure out how to get to the link. I know it's a little weird. So I'm gonna pull up my presentation and give it like another minute or two as people are joining. Okay. Okay. Have some folks who can't hear me. Um, cannot hear you, but I can see you. Okay. I'm just gonna get in the chat. Okay, cool. So it seems like most people are doing all right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna pull up my deck and we'll get started. So, like I said, by the way, my name is Madeline. I am a career advisor for CSOM, and I've been helping put together these Bank Week events and setting up Remo. So learned a lot very quickly, and I think you'll probably be able to get the hang of this pretty fast too. But in case you just wanted some tips, I'm glad you're here. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. So I'm gonna just go through this deck here and then I'll give you some time at the end to either ask me questions or just play around with Remo and learn how to use the platform. I found it's pretty intuitive, and I think as college students, you probably are much quicker to get onto technology than some of the employers and other folks. So anyway, let's get started. So just for some logistics, you can find all the information about Bank Week on our Google site. You may have already been there before, and that's how you found out about this event. If you want to register for the networking events on Friday ahead of time, go ahead to Handshake and look for them. We have two different events. One is a diversity networking reception where you can go and learn about all the different like diversity programs that the firms are holding. And that includes women, students of color, LGBTQ students, students with disabilities. So, you know, check in if you want to ask if that's for you, let me know. And then our general networking event or the career networking fair rather is going to be held from 10:30 to about 12 or 12:30 on Friday. So that's for everybody, and I think more of the banks will be at that one as well. And just as a heads up, just make sure when you're coming to this event on Friday that you've checked the Bank Week schedule to see the list of attending employers. There's also some other information about Bank Week on the website, on the schedule, and I have a guide for Remo that I can share with you afterwards too that has a list of employers. And this is important because you want to make sure that you're doing your research ahead of time so that you can go to organizations that you know about and can ask specific questions for each employer representative. And that'll really help impress the employers and give you a better leg up and give you a better chance of getting through the recruiting process with them. So on to more Remo specific, just to get ready for the event. And again, it's not super important for today. You might have already had all these things ready, but just so you know, if you want to test your camera, microphone, speakers, browser, all that kind of fun stuff, you can go to geartest.remo.co, and it's really helpful. During the event, you want to make sure that you have your camera on and your microphone on for the best experience. That's going to be the best way to kind of mimic a real networking fair. Obviously, we weren't able to do that this year because of COVID, so we're hoping this will be a good replacement. And just like a pro tip, like I'm wearing headphones right now, it really helps reduce the feedback for you, and it makes the experience better for other people too because there's less echo and sound we found. Couple notes, Remo works on your desktop, laptop, and mobile phone. It does not work on a tablet, so don't try to use your iPad to get onto Remo. And that being said, you can use your cell phone if you really need to, but definitely want to stick to using a laptop or a desktop if possible, because it's a much better experience for you and everyone involved. Before Friday, just make sure that your operating system is updated to the latest version. They're always making updates to Remo, so you just want to be as up to date as possible. Chrome definitely gives you the best experience. I know folks have tried Firefox. All of these will work, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge, but Chrome's definitely the best way to use the platform. There's some troubleshooting guides on here too, and I can share this presentation. I'll put it on the Bank Week website if you need to get the links later, but if you ever needed like specific troubleshooting guides for your device, they're in the presentation as well. Just a couple other like best experience tips. Make sure that you close other video applications. Like you don't want to have your Zoom running or like YouTube videos playing or anything like that. As well as any other like memory intensive programs, like don't have your RStudio homework going or something. Also, I know I'm terrible at this, but I always have a million tabs and browsers open. So you just want to try to close as many of those as possible to reduce the amount of load on your computer. And again, make sure you use your desktop or laptop rather than a mobile phone. It's really better, but if you absolutely have to, a mobile phone will work. So just general getting started tips. Again, you might have seen this already when you joined Remo today. But for setting up your profile, you can go to the upper left corner over here, and there's like a little My Profile button, and you can go in and make some changes. For instance, like you can go in and hit the My Profile, and then the whole window will pop up. And you can edit. Once you hit the Edit User button, you'll have all these different options. So you can change your profile picture, name, job title, which not really relevant right now, but the way that we recommend setting up for Friday's event is to upload a picture. If you don't have one, that's fine, but it just kind of helps show your face a little bit better. One weird thing is that the max size is 512, which isn't huge. So one of the peer advisors noticed that your LinkedIn profile, if you just go to LinkedIn and download your profile picture from there, that'll be the right size. Otherwise, you'll just need to like resize your images to make sure it fits. Then you want to update your name and include your class year in school. So for example, like well, I'm not graduating class of 23, but if I was, I would just write Madeline Cortez, CSUM, class of 23. That way they'll know that you're a student and know what class year you're graduating in. I think most of you will be sophomores, but you never know. And then also recommended including if you have a LinkedIn profile available, just putting that URL in there. Employers might not look at it, but if they do, it makes it a lot easier for them to just like click it and add you quickly. And we're hoping that most of the employers will also put their URLs to connect with you as well. So when you joined the event today, you probably saw this layout and we're like, what the heck is this? So just a couple things to keep in mind for Friday's events. And again, the two sessions are going to be a little bit different, but mostly the same. So in the middle here, you'll have the employer table. So they'll have the names of the different employers that are coming. And as a note, there'll be multiple floors. So make sure that you visit all the floors to see every employer. They're all in alphabetical order. So like, Aris Partners will be on the first page, whereas I think UBS is on the third floor for the main networking event. So there's multiple employer tables, and then there's a couple tables that we made here that are called student waiting tables. So pretty much the same function, but that's just kind of a place you can hang out if you get dropped into Remo and you're like at the like Bank of America table, but you're not ready to talk to them, you can just immediately jump to a student waiting table. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Or if you just need a break in between waiting for employers, or if the table that you're waiting to go to is full and you just want to like kind of stake it out and sit at that table for a bit, that's a good place to sit. The other side tables here have room for 2 people. So we're recommending that the employers use this if they want to have a one-on-one conversation with you, the students. And then the other really important feature is like the little floor switching over here. So you just will toggle between these different floors to find all the employers. So those are most of the things. So again, the employer tables, those ones in the middle, have up to 8 individuals, and those are going to be group conversations. So a little bit different than the normal career fair where you would like line up in a queue and like wait to meet one employer and have like a one-on-one conversation with them. This is going to be more similar to like a breakout room in Zoom. So you'll be in a table with one or two representatives from a specific firm or division, and then there'll be like 6 or 7 other students max. So it's a group conversation. It's, again, not ideal, but if you do want to have like a one-on-one conversation, or if an employer says like, hey, let's talk about this some more, they can pull you over to one of those side tables for only 2 people. So then it's just the 2 of you having a conversation, which, you know, a little bit more private if there's something specific that they want to talk to you personally about. And the student waiting tables, again, similar to the employer tables, have 8 individuals, but that'll just be you and a bunch of other students kind of waiting. If you want to commiserate with your friends and say like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on, you can stay there. We'll also have myself and some of the other career team members will be floating around. We might be at those student waiting tables if you want to ask us a question. The peer advisors will be there as well, and they're a group of seniors who help with different career and academic questions. So they're a resource too. So that's a good place to like take a break or kind of, you know, wait for the employer tables to open up. Yeah, and again, navigate during the event, you can navigate through the different floors. I didn't realize that they were calling this an elevator tile until today, actually, but it kind of does look like an elevator thing. But this is a good way to like jump between the floors. And just so you know, when you do switch floors, you get randomly placed at a table. So just kind of like you did when you joined the event. So just be aware of that. Again, shouldn't scare you, but if you jump into like, I don't know, if you jump into like Goldman Sachs and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to them yet, you can just jump to one of those student waiting tables. Don't worry about it. And like I mentioned, the employers are in alphabetical order and stretch onto all the floors. So definitely want to make sure that you're switching between floors so you can see every employer. And then I know we practice a little bit with the chat function here, but just so you know how to use the chat during the event, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat button. You can just click that, and then you can pick one of these 3 chat options. So there's the general chat. Hopefully you're not going to be using the general chat too much because that's visible to everyone. But if you need to do that or like want to do a shout out or something, that's fine. Your table chat is going to be visible to only the people that are at your current table. So if you're at a student waiting table, only the other people at your table will see that. You'll have video feed with all the other people at your specific table too, and it'll switch when you're toggling between the tables. And then a private chat is just going to be a direct message to a specific guest. So you can use this if you want to send something specific to an employer, or if you have a question and want to ask myself or someone else on the career team. We'll all, I think there's an example here, like Amy Donegan and Drew Barksdale work with me on the career team, and they put the words career team next to their name. So if you get really stuck on something and you're like, I don't remember who I'm supposed to talk to or ask questions, you can just type in the little chat here, you can just type career team and one of us will pop up. So that's a good way to get in touch with one of us if you need some help. The private chat is also good for the resume dropping aspect. A little weird this year, you can't obviously hand someone a physical copy of your resume. But if you do want to share your resume, first of all, ask if they're accepting resumes. Not totally sure how that's going to work out this year, if that's what they're planning on doing. And I think every firm will have an individual policy. So just check in with them before you start sending them random files. But if they do say they're accepting resumes, you can just search for their name in that search bar and then start a private chat and then hit that little attach files button here. That looks like a little paperclip. And send a PDF version of your resume. PDF just looks the cleanest, and that's what we generally recommend when you're submitting a resume. So you want to just make sure you have your resume on hand and have it looked through before the event starts. A couple other like little things, not essential, but just in case you're like, what are these things? Up on the top right here, they're called Billboards. So I put a link in here for how to use Remo if you're stuck. It's like a 3-minute demo with some tips, kind of similar to stuff I'm showing you now. Over on the right, there's a billboard, and if you click on it, you'll see the full list of employers that are at the event you're in. And then we have a couple other little banners throughout the event, just talking about the upcoming career and internship fair, and then the timeline and the timelines and contacts for the recruiting process for Bank Week. So you can click on those during the event or now. So again, each table is going to be labeled to represent the firm or division joining us. I can't remember if the practice one that we're using now has Bank of America, but they have like 5 tables for like all the different divisions that they're sponsoring. So like, if you really want to talk about like wealth management, make sure you're going to like the Bank of America wealth management page. Jump to all the floors to see the employers. This is like personally the thing I'm most worried about is like people won't realize that there's way more employers than you just see when you first enter. So make sure you're jumping around to check those out. You can use those student waiting tables if you just need a minute to get yourself together. And then the other thing is to just like click and drag around the map so that you can see everything. Sometimes like the names, somebody had mentioned like on the last row, some of the names get cut off, so like you can't really see them right away. But if you just drag the map around, you should be able to see everything. And then in terms of the actual conversations that you're having, a couple guidelines. I think some of you, I heard a lot of like the little knocking sound going around. So if you're at one table and want to join another, you just have to like double click on the table that you want to go to. You can also like hover, once you're at the table, you can hover over people to see their names. You can also just in the general event can like hover around and see people's names. And then this one's kind of specific, but I think you'll get a better sense of it once you practice a bit. But if you want to see if you're at a table with like 6 other people and there's just like this long string of video feeds and you just want to see the employer's face, you can just go to the tile view and then double click, like tap on their face, and it'll make their face bigger. So, you know, not that you don't want to see your fellow students, but you're there to talk to the employer, and it's better if you can see their whole face and their full title. Another big thing to keep in mind is that your chat history will disappear when you leave a table. So if you were like having a great conversation with someone, or, you know, they gave you a link to application, or like, especially if they give you an email address, and you want to make sure that you save that before you leave a table, because if you leave and come back, it'll be gone. So just make sure you have all the information that you need, and maybe have a notebook or like a Google Doc open as you're going to the event, so you can take notes as you're going along to the different tables. And if you're having any technical difficulties, again, I know like this platform's like a little overwhelming at first, but don't panic. Sometimes the audio or visual might cut out because it's just like a very intense program. So it'll depend on your device and your internet strength. So all you want to do is just like refresh your browser. It'll bring you back to the same event, no worries. Double check to make sure that your camera and your microphone are still working. And if you realize that you like get cut off or something and you're like in mid-conversation with someone, you can still use the chat function at that table and just say like, hey, my video is not working. I'm going to refresh and be right back. So just communicate what's going on. If you have any other like more specific technical difficulties, there's a need help button in the bottom left corner there in like pink, and Remo support's available 24/7, so like the very technical people can come in and help you out. If you have other kind of questions, just like I don't know, like if you're like which employer is the, like or like which floor is an employer on or something like that, you can reach out to myself and the other folks on the career team, which are Amy Donegan, Drew Barksdale, Jabril Robinson, and Jessica Hartley. We'll also have a couple peer advisors filtering in and out. And like I said, everyone's going to put the word career team at the end of their name. So anyone who has the phrase career team at the end, that you can just chat them in the chat feature. And that's like the easiest way to find one of us. And then that was it that I had for this presentation. Feel free to, I'm going to stay around till like 8. So if you want to ask me any questions or just jump around on the Remo tables and see how it all works, feel free to stick around. But yeah, thanks for coming.